Besides, the galaxy had never known quiet, even across the black gulf of space. Empires talked, traded, threatened, and blustered. Fleets patrolled, markets sang, and star systems hummed with life. But then Earth went silent. Not a whisper, not a ping, not a laugh carried through the networks. No transmissions left the blue planet. No ambassadors reported in. No traders departed from Sol. Every relay from human space went dark in the span of a single hour, and the galaxy noticed. Yarrick. Vaughn, a grizzled ex-soldier turned cargo mechanic, was the first human many aliens in the Kestrel hub had ever met. He was broad-shouldered, scarred, with hands that looked like they could crush steel, but often held delicate alien tech with surprising care. Yarrick had been patching a leaking coolant line on a Vayari freighter when the announcement crackled across the station's speakers. Attention! All transmissions from Sol system have ceased. Repeat human sector is in blackout. Await official updates. The docking bay went still. Workers froze mid-step. The Vayari captain, a six-limbed reptilian with scales that shimmered silver under the lights, turned all four eyes toward Yarrick. "Human," she hissed, the word not with malice, but with unease. "What does this mean?" Yarrick set his wrench. Down slowly. He felt a cold weight in his chest. Humanity never went silent. Earth's people talked too much, to everyone, about everything. If they stopped talking, it wasn't by choice. "I don't know," he muttered. "But it's bad." The captain flicked her tongue nervously. "Bad for you, or bad for all of us?" Yarrick didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silence of Earth was already echoing across the stars. On the other side of the station, Dr. Lyra Shalin, an Ilari xenobiologist with pale, translucent skin and soft violet eyes, watched the news unfold on a holoscreen. She had studied humans for years, fascinated by their stubborn resilience. She considered them reckless, emotional, but also endlessly creative. Now, staring at the empty feed from Earth, she felt something she hadn't expected. Fear. The last time a species went silent in the records, it had been after orbital bombardment. But this wasn't the silence of extinction. It was too controlled, too sudden. The humans had chosen this, and the galaxy trembled, because no one knew what humanity did in silence. In the days that followed, rumors spread like wildfire. The Terran fleets had been destroyed. Earth was under invasion. Humans had developed a weapon so terrible they cut themselves off to prepare for war. Or worse, they were already on their way. Yarrick couldn't sleep. Every corridor he walked, every docking bay he repaired, whispers followed him. Aliens gave him wary looks. Some avoided him entirely. Others tried to question him, pressing for answers he didn't have. But one night, while sitting alone in the dim-lit maintenance bay, he received a transmission encrypted, old-style, routed through forgotten relay nodes. Human dash coded. The message was only 4 words long. "Stand by. Do not speak." Yarrick's heart hammered. He knew then. The silence wasn't a weakness. It was a warning, and the galaxy hadn't understood it yet. Asterisk the whispers before the storm. The silence stretched for weeks. Governments panicked. Fleets redeployed. Trade collapsed. Every empire with half a brain tried to figure out what had happened in Sol, and every species looked at the humans scattered across the stars with new suspicion. Yarrick became a target. He couldn't walk down a corridor without someone muttering spy or traitor. Pack of Krivani mercenaries cornered him outside a food stall, demanding to know what Earth was planning. He only got away because Lyra happened to be there, and she called station security before blood was spilled. Later, in the quiet of the Jal infirmary where she patched the cut on his cheek, she asked softly, "What did they mean, Yarrick? The humans? Why would your people cut themselves off?" Yarrick stared at the floor. He had grown up on Earth. He knew what silence meant in his culture. His father, an old Navy officer, used to say, "If a soldier stops talking, boy, it's because he's pulling the pin." But he couldn't tell Lyra that. Not yet. Instead, he said, "We don't go quiet unless we're serious. If Earth's not talking, it means they're doing something big. And they don't want anyone knowing what until it's too late." Lyra shivered. "And when they finally speak?" Yarek looked up, his eyes dark. "The galaxy won't like what they hear." Meanwhile, across the Kestrel hub, political forces gathered. The Vayari sovereignty declared all humans on their stations under surveillance. The Krivani Syndicate called for preemptive strikes on Sol before the human threat metastasized. The Ilari Council, more cautious, argued for patience, but even they sent warships to patrol human borders. The galaxy was balancing on a knife's edge. And every day Earth stayed silent. The tension grew worse, Then came the first sign. A convoy of Krivani warships vanished near the edge of Sol's borders. No distress calls, no wreckage. Just gone. The Krivani blamed humans instantly. They broadcast accusations across every channel. But no proof came. A week later, an Ilari scout drone returned from Sol's edge, its memory core fried, its hull scarred with weapons fire no one could identify. Lyra studied the wreckage in the Kestrel labs. Yarek came to see it too. The wounds on the drone's metal made his skin crawl. "These aren't human weapons," Lyra whispered. Yarek clenched his fists. "Then someone's framing us. Or something else is in Sol." And for the first time, Yarek wondered if Earth's silence wasn't just about preparing for war. Maybe it was about surviving one. Asterisk ghosts at the edge, the galaxy grew desperate for answers. Fleets massed along human borders. Trade blockades cut off every Terran colony. And then, without warning, humans everywhere began vanishing. On Kestrel Hub, 5 Terran merchants disappeared in a single night. Their ships left in dock, belongings untouched. Other stations reported the same. Yarek knew it wasn't random. Earth was pulling its children back, quietly, efficiently, without a trace. He received another encrypted message. This time, longer. "Yarek Vaughn, you are instructed to remain where you are. Observe. Report only if ordered. Earth has spoken." The phrasing made his blood run cold. Earth has spoken, but not aloud. Not to the galaxy. Only to him. Someone on Earth was orchestrating this, and they expected him to play along. But Yarek wasn't the only one watching. Station security began tailing him. The Krivani put a price on his head. And Lyra, caught in the middle, found her. Career in danger just for being seen with him. "Why do you stay?" Yarek asked her one night, as they hid in a maintenance shaft after an attempted abduction. Lyra met his gaze steadily. "Because I've studied hundreds of species, and none of them scare me like yours does. But also none of them fascinate me like yours does. I want to know the truth, even if it kills me." Yarek almost laughed. "That's the most human thing I've ever heard an alien say." Then the first human dreadnought appeared. Not at Sol, not near Earth, but at Kestrel Hub itself. It emerged from a silent jump, a ship the size of a city, bristling with weapons no one recognized. It transmitted no greeting, no demands. It simply hung there, like a predator watching its prey. The hub went into lockdown. Fleets scrambled. Panic spread, but Yarek knew one thing as he stared up at the massive silhouette through the viewport. If the dreadnoughts were moving, then Earth's silence was about to end. The ultimatum. That the dreadnought's arrival froze the Kestrel Hub in fear. No one had expected the humans to deploy a capital ship here, at the crossroads of half the galaxies. Trade routes. It was an act of intimidation, and it worked. The dreadnought was a black silhouette against the stars, bristling with weapons that no one recognized. Its hull seemed to drink light. The energy readings alone sent analysts into panic. Some whispered. The ship's core output exceeded anything short of an Empire's entire battle fleet, but the dreadnought didn't fire. It didn't move. It didn't speak. It just waited. Yarrick was dragged before the station council the next morning. He walked into the chamber flanked by guards, his hands bound. Alien leaders of half a dozen species sat in a semicircle, their faces tight with fear and suspicion. Asterisk, at the center sat High Prefect Drow of the Ilari, his translucent skin shimmering with stress. Yarrick Vaughn, Drow said coldly. Explain this. Why has your people's warship appeared here? Why does it not communicate? Yarrick clenched his jaw. I don't know. They don't tell me anything. That is a lie, snapped a Kravani delegate, her mandibles clicking sharply. You humans are all spies. This ship is your weapon. Admit it. I'm a mechanic, Yarrick growled. Not a damn admiral. The council erupted in arguments, accusations flying, demands for preemptive strikes. Yarrick just stood there, silent, watching, and the chamber lights flickered. Every holoscreen in the room went black dot, and then words appeared. White, simple, unadorned. You are observed. You are measured. You will decide if you live. The message wasn't broadcast in any alien language. It was written in plain English. Asterisk. The alien stared, uncomprehending. But Yarrick's blood turned. To ice. He understood the meaning. Earth was issuing an ultimatum. Outside. The dreadnought stirred for the first time. Asterisk. Panels along its hull shifted, revealing colossal weapons arrays. Point defense turrets swiveled. Shield matrices flickered. The ship was not attacking, but it was showing teeth. The council panicked. Some demanded the hub's fleet fire immediately. Others argued for retreat. Yarrick stood very still. He remembered the message he'd received before. Stand by. Do not speak. So he didn't. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the message vanished. The dreadnought powered down its weapons and went still again. Silence returned, but it was no longer the silence of mystery. Now it was the silence of a blade held at one's throat. That night, Yarrick sat alone in his quarters, staring at the ceiling. His comm device buzzed. Another encrypted human message. This one was short. Not enemy. Not yet. Do not break silence. He rubbed his face. His instincts screamed at him to say something, to defend his people, to explain, but he couldn't. The message was clear. Lyra arrived not long after, slipping into his quarters without asking. Her violet eyes were wide with fear. Yarrick, that ship, that wasn't a threat, was it? That was a warning. He nodded grimly. Yeah, they're not aiming at the hub. They're aiming at someone else. And they're telling everyone stay. Out of the way, but who? Yarrick stared at the stars outside the viewport. That's the question that should keep you up at night. The galaxy held its breath. Fleets across every border froze. No one dared provoke the silent dreadnought. And then, just as whispers began to settle, another fleet vanished. This time, not Kravani, not Ilari Veari. 30 warships gone without a trace near Sol's Edge. But wreckage drifted back, carried by solar winds. And the scorch marks weren't human. Asterisk, the hidden enemy, the solar system, hung in a deceptive calm. Ships patrolled its borders, weapons hot, sensors scanning for any hint of movement. But the humans didn't strike. Not yet. Instead, they let the galaxy squirm in the unknown. Their silence a weapon far sharper than any cannon. Yarrick and Lyra were aboard a small observation shuttle, hovering just beyond the asteroid belt of Sol. Yarrick's fingers drummed nervously on the console, while Lyra's violet eyes scanned the display. They're not fighting each other, she said quietly. No human fleet has moved. Not even toward the Kravani or the Veari. Yarrick, shook his head. They're waiting. They always wait until the right moment. That's how humans survive. Lyra frowned. Waiting for what? Yarek's jaw tightened. For the real enemy. And then the sensors screamed. Something massive, incomprehensible, had emerged from Saul's inner system. Not a ship. Not a fleet. Something alive, organic, and it was armed. Impossible, muttered one of the station engineers monitoring the data. Nothing that size can exist inside Saul's orbit. Yarek stared at the readings. Every energy pulse, every gravitic signature pointed to a singular conclusion. Earth had been under siege not by aliens, not by humans, something older, something intelligent, something utterly ruthless. The dreadnought's purpose became horrifyingly clear, that it wasn't just a warning, it was a shield. Earth had built it to defend against this enemy, a predator that could annihilate entire fleets without warning. Lyra turned to Yarek, her voice trembling. If humans were gone, Sol would be gone. Yarek clenched his fists, scarred hands shaking slightly. Exactly. And now the galaxy knows it. Messages began flooding in across every system. The Krivani and Vayari fleets were being torn apart with surgical precision. Not a human ship in sight yet. The destruction was unmistakably human. Their fingerprints, their strategies, their pattern recognition, it was unmistakable. Every empire realized the horrifying truth. Earth's silence wasn't a surrender. It was preparation got, and now, for the first time, the galaxy also realized there was something worse than humanity approaching. The hidden enemy revealed itself in glimpses. Ships reported strange constructs, massive, spider-like machines with reflective surfaces that bent light, swarming like locusts. They consumed entire supply stations in seconds. Organic tendrils ripped through hulls. No communications survived their attacks. Fleets fled, leaving only ruin. The humans did not intervene. Immediately, instead, small squads of elite Terran forces struck with precision. Boarding pods, invisible in the void, disabled the enemy's machines without collateral damage. Entire fleets once thought destroyed were revealed to have been relocated to shielded sectors, untouched. Yarek watched all this unfold, trying to reconcile what he knew of human compassion with what he now saw in action. They're killing, Lyra whispered. And yet, it's controlled, surgical. Yarek shook his head. That's humanity. They can destroy, but they also save. They're not monsters, just engineers of survival. On the Kestrel hub, a council meeting erupted into chaos. Humans are monsters, shouted a Krivani delegate. They destroyed fleets without mercy. They're defending themselves, countered Draw. And it's not their war. The machines, whatever they are, came to Sol first. Yarek stepped forward. You all wanted to strike first. You accused humans. You called them silent spies. And now, look at what's coming. And look at who is standing in the way. The dreadnought hovered silently outside the station. A constant reminder that Earth was watching and waiting. And then came the first direct human communication to the galaxy, not in anger, not in threat, but in a single, simple broadcast. Stand aside. This is not your war. Interfere, and you will die. Help, and you may live. The room went silent. The galaxy understood finally. The humans weren't just defending their planet. They were defending the future of their species. And anyone foolish enough to think of Earth as weak would pay the price. But amid the horror, Yarek noticed something else. In the enemy's destruction patterns, there were anomalies. Ships and stations left untouched, not by chance, but by design. Some signals hinted at hope, civilizations saved, refugees protected. Humans were not just warriors, they were guardians. Lyra looked at him, awe in her eyes. They're different from anything we imagined. Yarek nodded. Different. Dangerous. but human. And for the first time, he realized the depth of what Earth's silence had meant. It wasn't cowardice. It wasn't submission. It was the galaxy's first true warning, and a testament to human ingenuity, compassion, and the brutal clarity of survival. Fire and silence the galaxy had never seen a war fought like this. Ships that had once roamed freely were now either hidden or destroyed. Stations that hummed with trade and chatter lay shattered or cloaked in human shields. And yet there was no indiscriminate slaughter, no chaos, no panic among the humans themselves. Every movement, every strike was precise, surgical, calculated. Yarrick. Vaughn watched from the observation deck of a relay station near Sol. His hands shook as the dreadnought's sensors fed him live images. Massive enemy machines being dismantled, entire fleets rescued, orbital cities spared. Every maneuver spoke of human brilliance, a combination of engineering, intuition, and courage that no other species could match. They're everywhere, Lyra whispered beside him, and nowhere. How can one planet do this? Yarrick's jaw tightened, because humans don't just fight, they think. And they planned decades ahead if they have to. The enemy, monstrous and relentless, had assumed dominance. It crawled across Sol's colonies like a virus, consuming, assimilating, destroying. But the humans didn't engage in open conflict at first. They waited. They observed. They learned. Then, when the moment was right, the dreadnought struck. Massive energy beams cut through enemy ranks with terrifying efficiency. Boarding teams infiltrated enemy vessels mid-flight, neutralizing threats from the inside. Defense grids deployed across the solar system, invisible shields protecting civilian populations. Entire fleets once believed destroyed were reactivated in hidden orbits, ready to strike, and the galaxy watched in awe and horror. The Kestrel Hub's council convened urgently. Delegates whispered, pointed, and argued. The humans, there, architects of death. A Kravani warlord hissed. Draal's translucent skin shimmered with fear. And yet, they also save. Refugees, colonies, civilians, none harmed. Yarrick spoke for the first time to the council, voice steady. You've called them silent. You've assumed they're weak. You've underestimated what survival means to humans. And now, you see. A commotion outside drew every eye to the viewport. The dreadnought, the silent sentinel of Earth, launched into a new orbit. Its weapons flared, not to destroy the hub, but to demonstrate capability. A single salvo vaporized an abandoned enemy construct drifting nearby. The room went cold. Number. One dared speak. Across the galaxy. Fleets stopped. Markets paused. Communications halted. Every civilization felt the weight of a planet's wrath and its restraint. Lyra turned to Yarrick, eyes wide. There, holding back, they could wipe out the enemy entirely. And yet, they don't. Yarrick nodded. That's humanity. We fight to survive, but we fight to save what matters too. They'll destroy only what threatens their home, and only enough to make sure it never comes back. The enemy, however, was clever. It adapted. It tried to predict human strategies, but every strike they calculated was countered by a new tactic: traps, decoys, and most frighteningly, humans anticipating human innovation. Yarrick realized what terrified even the aliens. Humans didn't just react, they create solutions before the problem exists. Then came the critical moment. The enemy had concentrated its forces near Mars. They intended a final, overwhelming strike against the planet's defenses, expecting the humans to respond in kind. Instead, the humans did something the galaxy could barely comprehend. They went silent again. All communication, all transmissions, all signals stopped. Fleets froze in confusion. Enemy sensors registered nothing. The dreadnought hovered silently, a shadow of immense power, like a god waiting. And then they struck. From hidden orbits, rapid deployment squads emerged, swarms of drones disabled. The enemy's command nodes. Precision strikes dismantled massive machines from inside out. Cities were defended by energy shields that absorbed attacks without collapsing. Enemy soldiers were captured, not killed. Whenever possible, by the time the first survivors tried to escape, they realized too late. Earth's silence had been a trap of patience and genius. Yarrick and Lara watched from the edge of Saul's system, exhausted, hearts pounding. They did it, Lyra whispered. They saved their home. And everyone else in the system. Yarrick's hands were clenched tight. They did. And the galaxy is watching. Anyone who thinks humans are weak will remember today forever. A final broadcast came through, faint but undeniable. Not a threat, not a plea, simply Earth remains. All who threaten life will not. Choose your path wisely. A message hung in the void, a stark, silent warning that resonated across every system. And for the first time, the galaxy truly understood the human paradox. Compassion and brutality, creativity and cunning, mercy and terror, all imperfect. Harmony. Asterisk. The last word the galaxy had been changed forever. Once, humans were just one species among countless others. No stronger, no wiser, no more feared than any other. Now, every civilization knew the truth. Silence could be louder than war, patience sharper than blades, and ingenuity deadlier than fleets. Jarek Vaughn floated in the observation chamber of the Kestrel hub, staring at the stars. Beyond Sol, the remnants of the enemy's machines drifted, like wreckage in a graveyard. The humans had dismantled them with care, leaving what could be salvaged for those willing to learn, sparing those who could be saved. Lyra Shallon approached quietly, her violet eyes reflecting starlight. They're more than we imagined. Not monsters, not gods. Humans, Yarrick nodded. Exactly. And now the galaxy knows. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means preparation. It means purpose. And it means survival on our terms. The dreadnought had returned to Sol, its mission complete. But Yarrick knew it was only the first. Humanity had more weapons, more fleets, and more minds than anyone realized. Every system, every empire, had witnessed the same truth. Underestimate humans at your peril. And yet, there was mercy in their silence. Fleets that had once attacked human colonies were allowed to retreat. Systems that had feared humanity were spared destruction. Refugees were protected, evacuated from the fight zones with precision and care. The humans had shown that their strength wasn't just in technology, it was in judgment, in restraint, in compassion. Lyra's voice was barely audible. Do you think the galaxy will ever trust them again? Yarrick's eyes softened. For the first time in weeks. Trust? Maybe. Fear? Definitely. But sometimes fear is the only way to keep peace. In the weeks that followed, tentative contact resumed across the galaxy. Human ambassadors, still quiet, began negotiations. Not demands, not threats. They offered terms only after observation, only after understanding. The galaxy realized they had been tested and passed. Yarrick and Lyra walked through the docks of Kestrel Hub, seeing humans among aliens without fear, sharing knowledge, repairing ships, teaching. It was a display of humanity that could not be mistaken for conquest. It was generosity born from survival. Do you ever think they'll go silent again? Lyra asked. Yarrick smiled faintly. They always have a reason, but this time, they've spoken enough to be heard. The galaxy just needs to listen. A faint hum grew in the distance. Not alarms. Not weapons. Something else. The human dreadnought had left orbit. Another had appeared, silently watching the edges of another system. The galaxy understood this perfectly. Humanity had not left, not vanished, not surrendered. They were present. They were vigilant, Dot, and they were ready. Yarrick turned to Lyra. The humans are like fire, unpredictable, unstoppable, and impossible to ignore. But fire can warm or burn. It depends on who wields it. Lyra nodded slowly. And now, the galaxy knows who wields it. A silence fell between them, but it was no longer frightening. It was the calm after a storm, a moment to breathe, to understand, to hope, Dot, because for all the destruction, for all the fear, for all the loss, humanity had proven one undeniable truth. They survived. They adapted. They endured. And when the galaxy's civilizations needed them, they would not hesitate to rise silent, patient, and utterly unstoppable. Stars beyond Sol gleamed with renewed light, reflecting the promise and peril of human ingenuity. And somewhere, deep within the reaches of space, Earth watched. Quiet, vigilant, unbroken. Yarrick whispered, almost to himself, "The galaxy hasn't seen the last of us, not by a long shot." And for the first time in millennia, the silence of Earth was not frightening. It was a warning the galaxy would never forget. Asterisk.